Hello? Hello, hello? If I do that, can you hear me? Okay. Well, then I guess I won't use this thing. I can never know if this thing works or not. I never know if it's my phone isn't too far away from me, so that should probably don't need that. It's probably overkill. Oh, hey Tom. So there are two of us here. Well, three of us now. So this is the Fireside Chat. I just hold them every Sunday to give voters and constituents an opportunity to speak with me directly, one-on-one, unscripted. Any questions that you have, please let me know. So the two people on right now, one of them is Mike. He has been interviewing progressive candidates around the country, giving us a platform, doing some really cool videos, and getting us out there on social media. And we are joined by my treasurer, who without him, there would be no campaign, because the treasurer is the most important part of running for office. Well, I guess the candidate would technically be the most important part. But the second most important part is the treasurer. Without a treasurer, there is no campaign. So if either of you have any questions or anything, wind energy, how many people does it control? It controls people in the LGBTQ plus community, especially trans people. That is part of the gay agenda, is because gay people be like blowing. And so if there's enough of these windmills, then we can blow everyone into gayness. And then once everyone's gay, we can make them trans. And that is how the gay agenda is going to work. And I'm going to be canceled before I even make it anywhere near the ballot. For those of you that don't know me well, I have a sick sense of humor. I'm not the most politically correct person, but I think that has been one of the downfalls. And oh, yes. Yeah, actually, the only place to get trans surgeries is at school, especially elementary schools. And that's why teachers can't afford pens and paper, because they're the ones that are paying out of pocket, actually, for these surgeries that they're forcing on the children as part of the gay agenda. And so that is why when you have windmills and next to schools, you have to be very careful, because it is most likely that there are just all of the surgeries going on. Oh my goodness. Yes, so I was always joke with someone on our team. I was part of the Democratic Socialists of America, but the Connecticut chapter seems to thoroughly enjoy some weird Victorian moral whatever. And I think some people need to just be able to take a joke a bit better and laugh things off. I think that's one of the issues with the Democratic Party, is that they take themselves way too seriously. And I just like to poke fun at everyone and everything, including and especially myself, because there's a lot that I can. I give myself a lot of ammunition on myself. I don't know how that sounds. Yeah, so I think I'm going to talk about the incident yesterday at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I'm learning more and more information. So honestly, if I was talking to a delegate today, and he was asking me some of the things that Rosa DeLauro, like my weaknesses, what would Rosa use against me, and I said the inexperience, she's the ranking member of the Appropriations Committee, and then I mentioned to him that I've had issues with mental health in my past that I'm sure she will be able to dig up and use. And he mentioned something about, that he has mental health issues. And I said to him, like, you know what? If you do not, I don't know if I trust people these days that don't have some form of mental health issue. Because if you are alive in this world and you don't have some sort of mental health issue, you are either not paying attention or, like, you must be a sociopath or a psychopath or something. Because I just don't see how people cannot be affected by all of the trash that is just going on in this world. And speaking of trash, so the past week, this past Wednesday was Earth Day, and so there were a lot of Earth Day events over the past week. And a couple weeks ago, I went to the North Haven DTC, and then this past week I went to the Stratford DTC, and they were talking about trash pickups, like going to the park and picking up trash. And I asked if it would be okay for me to join them. And I told them, because oddly enough, I really like picking up trash. I actually, before I gave up Amazon, because I haven't used Amazon in over a year now. So I think February of 2025 is when I canceled my Prime membership. I bought a whole giddy up for picking up trash. And when I said this at the DTC, like, people gave me these looks like, really, you enjoy picking up trash? And then I showed up, and I think they were not expecting me to actually show up with my own trash picking up gear. But this is, so, campaigning and going out and hearing people, what their issues are. But it's also been a very cool, like, explorative journey, for me. Because, I've lived in Connecticut my entire life. I've lived in Milford for 15 years. And, so, yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I'm just terrible with keeping track of time ever since 2019. Time has been an enigma. But yesterday, doing these trash pickup events with the local DTCs. Hello, the Neighborly Network. Welcome. I'm just talking about some trash pickup that I was doing yesterday with a couple of DTCs. And then this actually turned into a whole conversation today with a delegate. So yesterday I joined the Stratford DTC early in the morning, and then later in the afternoon, the North Haven DTC, and I learned about Book Nerd? It's you? Hi! Oh, hi. Hi, Yoshi. Hi. Yeah. I miss you. So the DTCs were doing the trash pickups, and I told them that I really enjoyed picking up the trash. And so yesterday, burned a lot of calories doing it. So it's a great workout. Hi, Yoshi. And I was so I learned about two new places, Longbrook Park in Stratford. It's fucking gorgeous. And a couple people were telling me it was part of FDR's like public works, the PWA, the public works shit. Let me Google this because I don't want to. I should know this because FDR is one of my inspirations, but I guess I can't remember everything. The PWA. FDR. Public Works Administration. Yep, the WPA Public Works, the Public Works Administration, and the Longbrook Park in Stratford was actually part of FDR's Public Work Administration, and I always enjoy. And then, so FDR's been popping up a lot, and I mean that's one of the reasons why I have the Fireside Chat that was inspired. Wickham Park in Manchester. I haven't been there, and I probably won't be able to get there at least until I win the primary, because most of my time has to be spent in district making sure that I'm getting the signatures. The petition begins this Tuesday, and so there'll be a heavy focus on making sure that we get onto the ballot, because if we don't get onto the ballot, then game ends there. So yesterday I discovered for myself, I mean, people have discovered this before, Longbrook Park in Stratford, which would be a great place for Yoshi. And then later in the afternoon, I went to North Haven, and there was Peter's Rock Park, which was a great hiking, lots of hiking trails. And so I'm excited to take Yoshi there, because I think he would very much enjoy that. So yesterday, FDR came into conversation with the PWA, and then today, early this morning, I went to a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and I haven't been to a church ceremony in a while, because I wear the cross. And as I mentioned to several people, I don't necessarily believe that Jesus was a divine figure. He was just he was a man ahead of his time. And so I was actually talking to my treasurer, and we were talking about, religion and God and whatnot. And we both kind of came to the conclusion that our interpretation of God is something closer to the Force, and that Jesus was just very attuned to the Force. But as far as being a divine figure in the traditional sense, I'm not necessarily buy into that. So when I went to this Unitarian church, the pastor, his sermon was about like FDR and fighting for working class people, and I'm like, maybe I am a Unitarian. I didn't even know it. So it is making me very happy that I keep hearing Jesus is a Jedi yes, that is exactly what I am saying, is that Jesus was one of the original Jedi. J-E, Jesus, J-E, Jedi. So it already works like that. And, I also noticed that, Josh Elliott was talking about FDR Democrats, and I don't know if I independently thought of this or started a trend, but I'm very happy to see more and more people talking about FDR, because FDR to me is the epitome of everything the Democratic Party should be. The party that does fight for the working class, the party that does ensure that every person has their basic needs met, and that should be the primary focus of the Democratic Party, is fighting for that economic Bill of Rights that FDR proposed back in 1944. Because everyone going around the district, the thing that is on most people's mind is affordability. And in the wealthiest nation in the world, it shouldn't matter what the status of the economy is, people should always be guaranteed some of these basic necessities to life. And then, I think Jesus, not only was Jesus a Jedi, if socialism had been a term in his time, I think Jesus would have been like one of the OG socialists. Because, he was like running around giving, turning, minor amount of food into, feasts that could feed all the poor. And, he washed prostitutes' feet, and he threw tables at rich people. Like real OG socialist shit. And, So it's interesting going around and seeing how like all of these things are coming like full circle, and so that, because usually when I go to a church service, I always feel like I'm gonna like burst into flames, or it feels like I don't belong. But today when I went, I was like, oh, I feel like I belong. Like, this is a great, and like everyone who stood up said their name, gave their pronouns, and let's see, he was all about love thy neighbor and feed. Yes, yeah. So to me, it's always so interesting watching all of these MAGAs running around praising. Like, so there's one of my neighbors down the street. The flag is gone now. I don't know if it just got faded and disappeared, or if they took it down after, he was a PDF. But it said, like, Jesus is my savior and Trump is my president. And it always weirds me out, because, yeah, Jesus talked about taking care of the poor, feeding the poor and the hungry, and ensuring that the sick could see a doctor. And a camel would sooner get through the eye of a needle than a rich man would enter the kingdom of heaven. And so to me, it's just always interesting to see these Christian nationalists and evangelicals praising Jesus, but then doing literally the exact opposite of everything Jesus did in his life. And I don't understand the cognitive dissonance that has to exist for a person to see someone like Donald Trump and be like, yes, this is who Jesus would have chosen as a figure for the church. Although there is supposed to be that little thing with separation of church and state, which I was also talking to the delegate earlier about. Trump would hate. Oh yes. Well, I mean, Trump also. Well, no, I guess he doesn't hang around with prostitutes. Those are children. Never mind. Big difference. I mean, most right-wing MAGA Republicans would hate Jesus. I mean, Jesus was Palestinian. I'm just gonna put that out there. The current population of Palestine has much more blood relation to Jesus Christ than current Israelis. So you have a brown Middle Eastern man who fed the poor, housed the homeless, fed the hungry, healed the sick, washed the feet of prostitutes, and hated rich people. And somehow Donald Trump is these Christians, new. Although I guess there were a bunch of people that got mad when he created that AI image of himself as Jesus healing people. And again, I'm not that religious, but even I found that offensive, because I'm just like that. This whole fucking thing is crazy. And then yesterday, that's right, he was a doctor. I mean, I guess that's the closest we've ever gotten to the man backtracking on something that he has done. But I want to talk about yesterday. Who here believes that it was a completely staged fucking event? Because I do. I think it was 100% staged. Every time his approval ratings or his numbers tank, there's always some sort of weird attempt on his life. And this also happens to be the first White House Correspondents' Dinner that he's attended in all of his years as president. He's never attended before. And it also happened to be, as soon as the gunshots were fired, 10 minutes later, they were all on Twitter and news conferences saying, like, oh, this is why we need a ballroom. And someone pointed out that I think the judge that put a halt to the construction of the ballroom said that without any sort of security relevance, this is like an illegal project. And then a week later, they happen to have an incident that could suggest the need for a more secure location for the president. And it's just like, ah, and then it is interesting to see how, the president gets, well, he doesn't get shot at. Like, I want to know I need to look into the exact time frame of everything and when it was shot and whatnot. It's like how, like, if it was, I mean, it was definitely staged, but like if it wasn't staged, then that just also shows that the Secret Service sucks. Because how the hell did someone with all these guns get that close to the president in a closed location? But also, why was he shirtless? Did they rip his shirt off? Or like, what? Hi, Dan. I want to ball through TSA, but it's not. Yes. This is what I do not understand. There is no fucking way that man was able to get through that many security checkpoints, unless it is just the fact that he fired all of the competent people. And so yesterday I was going around in some circles and we were joking about who's this going to be blamed on? Is it going to be Iran? Is it going to be Hamas? Is it going to be trans people? Windmills? Obama? What were some of the other ones that the Antifa? So we're wondering how this is going to be spun against, people on the left. Yoshi looks psycho. But yeah, it is. Oh, and then and then did everyone see Erica Kirk and her fake tears? She's like, I just want to go home. And it was so pathetic. Because once again, it just goes to show that oftentimes these people never seem to have any sort of empathy for any situation until they themselves are affected by it. Although I also think that Charlie Kirk's death was probably staged. Well, I mean, he's dead, but I definitely think I don't think it was just some random trans person that was firing shots. Oh God, what? What am I missing? What did state TV show? Oh, see, is that Barry Weiss? I can't watch that shit. I'll fucking throw up. Because the Elsons are now going to control everything. Interview where Orange Carcass denies being Oh! Interesting. Another great point book that is very true. And then the other thing that I heard was, he'll go after Rosie O'Donnell for like some mean tweet, but he has never once ever mentioned any of these people that tried to take a shot at him. Like, people that mock you'll go nuclear against, but people who literally supposedly try and take you out, they're fine. You have no words to say to them. You don't you complain about literally everyone that has slighted you in the most minute way possible. But then people who actually try to put a bullet in your fucking head, suddenly you found Jesus and you don't care what they have to, and you never mention them again. You never because, I mean, there's always, I believe that anytime that there is an assassination attempt, there usually is the rallying effect behind the leader or the person that was the target. It's just, it's just absolutely crazy. But I'm curious to know more about the what was the context of him denying being a PDF? And how do I Google that? Because CBS Trump interview today. Okay. For reading alleged gunman's manifesto. So even when it's completely... oh my god. Yes, like, what kind... Like, either... It's, how bad... Like, how much have you fucked up in your life that people either think... Like, no one... I didn't hear one person... Like, the first time he was shot in the ear, supposedly, like, even people who hated him were like, oh my god, like, but now it's just gotten to the point where we all think it's just fake. Of course the new AG. Is it, who's the... Was it... Is it an acting AG or the ear that magically fucking grew back? Also, I feel like with that caliber of bullet, it would have like taken off the entire ear. But I mean, someone's saying that he's done WWE performances and they have those like blood packet things, and so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he was able to put fake blood somewhere. And the like I don't think there seems like any medical reports of that surgery or whatnot. It is just like, how sad is it that that even if there was an assassination attempt on the president, most people's first instinct is to be like, no, that was fake, that was staged. Like that he's literally the boy that has cried wolf so many times that like there's just no way you can believe anything that happened around him, because everything is just so performative and so contrived with this man. And so as far as the AG goes, sorry, I'm like jumping all over the place. Is it Blanche? I think that's just the acting AG. I forget who he said didn't he want like Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator, to be the new AG? And it'll be 3 centimeter chunk of his ear that was blown off, but if you look at his ear at the photo ops a week later, it's completely fine. Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say like, oh, but would he actually be okay with someone like shooting close to him? And I was like, I don't think the bullet was anywhere near him. The bullet hit like, it was staged. I don't trust that man for anything. So that has so I think AOC, or it's really funny when like either left-leaning politicians or Democrats mention something about how I think like AOC mentioned something about like that people who are pedophiles should not be in office or should be like shot or something, blah blah blah. And I think like, was it Laura Loomer or something, be like, AOC just threatened the president of the United States' life. And AOC never mentioned Trump's name. She just said that pedophiles in office should be removed or, should be hung. And it's just like, okay, so why do you assume that AOC was talking about Trump when she didn't mention his name? Because you know that he's a PDF. And this seems to be another example of that, where you don't even have to, you don't have to say his name. He automatically feels guilty because, oh my God, it is just absolutely crazy. And what are the establishment Democrats going to do about it? Back to the new AG not releasing those PDF files. So I'm obviously challenging Rosa DeLauro, the incumbent congresswoman in Connecticut's 3rd District. And anytime someone from the administration gets fired or whatnot, either her or one of her staffers, she has like this on a door, she has all of the pictures of the people, and she just puts like X's through them. And it's so stupid because any one member of Congress could impeach any of these people and get on record who does or doesn't support the release of these files. But at the same time, it's all a show. And so back in February, Nancy Mace, who I agree with nothing, had a resolution that would expose all the predators in Congress. Yes, I say that all the time. When I got into politics, I knew things were going to be corrupt. But I thought it was going to be like cool corruption, like 007 corruption, like House of Cards corruption. No, it is literally Mean Girls bullshit. And nothing is more indicative of that than some of the DTCs that I've been to. Some DTCs have been fabulous and have been very welcoming. Other DTCs, not so much. And then even like organizations such as DSA, a lot of what goes on in the background is just petty Mean Girls bullshit. I'm just like, no wonder why the world's on fire, because everyone's a high schooler, apparently. I thought it was just the workplace. Apparently it is also our government. Another reason why I'm running, because not only do I like picking up physical trash, I like picking up metaphorical trash. The metaphorical trash being the establishment Democratic Party that has done absolutely nothing to legitimately be an opposition party pushing back against fascism. If anything, they have been enabling it with their deference to corporate interests versus fighting for actual working class people. Yes. When was the last time any of these people, even saw Rosa in action's a very generous term, because, again, I don't want to make someone's age an issue, because, like, look at Bernie Sanders. He's very spry. He still statistically will not live to see the repercussions of his decisions, but at least his voting pattern and the way he thinks is much more in line with the younger generations. But several people have come up to me and said that Rosa's frail. And I have these people that support her, have they actually interacted with her recently? Have they actually asked her a question? Have they actually dug into her record and see that she's not upholding the standard for which she once earned a reputation for? Because again, she's been in office for 35 years. I was a 3-year-old boy. I didn't really start paying attention to politics probably until Bush v. Gore. And so I don't personally know. I can look back on her history and her record. So I don't deny the, that she probably did a lot of good in those first, 10 years of her tenure as a congresswoman. But doing something 20 years ago does not excuse you from not doing something in the here and now. And if you're not going to do something in the here and now, and you're just going to rely on the good you did 20 years ago, get out of the way and let someone else have an opportunity to represent the people and have an opportunity to present new ideas and to fight for things that the youth and the working class have felt the Democrats have abandoned. She said to me, well, she doesn't have much time, so it's like, are they supporting her just because they know she's going to die soon? So one of the, and I mean, in ideas and how she wants to, so, yes, that is and that is one of the biggest concerns. So going around to DTCs, a couple of the questions that I am asked, one of them is, she's the ranking appropriator for the Democrats. If and when the Democrats take the House, she would become the chairwoman. And so why would we replace, a newbie with someone with that kind of influence? To which I say, what good is that power if you do not know how to wield it for the betterment of our people? And what did we get from her being the chairwoman of the Appropriations Committee with a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate? And so another thing that I said to people is, like, at some point we do have to face the fact that she either retires or dies in office, and we lose that position anyway. But now, instead of having a transfer of, so a couple people, even my sister, said, would you ever consider working with her? And so before I launched this campaign, I did reach out to her office on multiple occasions saying, like, hey, I am going to launch a challenge against you. I would be interested in talking with you because my sister said it, with her knowledge and experience and my way of thinking about things, we could work together to achieve a lot for our district. But no, she ignored me. She didn't take me seriously. And I told her that you can either pass the torch with your legacy intact, or I am going to start poking holes in what you have been doing recently and how that is going to damage your legacy. And so it's like, I felt like I gave her a fair opportunity. She didn't take it. And now this is the repercussion of it. I am exposing her for the fact that she has not used her power to fully fund the IDEA program, which would give $51 million a year to this district for special education funding. I am going to point out that she does not support Medicare for all and wants to continue a system where healthcare industries can exploit people for being sick. I will expose, I bring to light that she will not abolish ICE and that multiple corporate sponsors of her have contracts with ICE. I will expose that she voted in favor of the Charlie Kirk resolution that honored him as a courageous person. I will bring to light some of these failures to fundamentally address some of the issues that we are facing. And so if she dies in office, did you get to have those meetings with... So I did have more meetings with DTCs, and I was able to pick up some more delegates. If she dies while in office, then the seat remains vacant. Well, no. A lot of it depends on state laws, and different states will have different laws. Hi, Emma. Depending on... So I don't know the state laws for Connecticut as far as a vacancy goes, but it is possible that the seat would remain vacant until a special election could be held to fill that seat. I want to say that is mandatory for House of Representatives. Sometimes for the senators, the governor can select someone to fill the vacancy until there is an election. But I think for the House, I want to say that you would have to wait until a special election. So it's, if she were to die in office, then we would be without representation in this district. And again, there's a lot that she could teach someone and pass that knowledge on to, but she is hell-bent in okay, it is also the reps. Okay, that's good to know. I was thinking what would set up here either dying. So I've not sent a letter to her to have a debate. I don't think that she would want to debate me. She doesn't really have a lot of media appearances. The last time, I did see her blow up at RFK Jr. over the raw milk fiasco, and I was like, first of all, milk standards are regulated by the states, not by the federal government, and so states decide their own laws as to whether or not raw milk is available to the public. It was just very interesting seeing her be so passionate about something that didn't even kill 9 people. I think 9 children were hospitalized, and she makes this big old, in the Congress about that, but then 90,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered, and you sleep very well at night knowing about that. So when it comes to raw milk, she can't sleep. When it comes to genocide, she sleeps very well at night. So I don't know where her priorities lie. I have reached out to her office. Well, so back in February, a group and we went to her office as part of an impeachment day of action to ask her position on impeaching Donald Trump, impeaching Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, et cetera, et cetera. And she didn't meet with us that day. She didn't even give us she gave us a staffer, but the staffer was her scheduler, and so the scheduler was not versed in any of the Congresswoman's positions, and so she just sat there and took notes and recorded the audio, and we are still waiting for answers on that. So I doubt she is, if she can't get back to an organization like 5051 who are nonpartisan, I doubt she is ever really going to ever want to talk to me, because I will hold her feet to the fire. I will, I won't. If we're having a sit down, I won't accost her. If she's in the streets of New Haven after voting in favor of sending $500 million to an apartheid state to perpetuate a genocide, then I will accost her. I'm very I have no idea what happened in her past that makes her so able to. That is just a crazy. Hi, Craig. Thanks for joining. So we're talking about my incumbent, and so I started this race shortly after I had a confrontation with Rosa DeLauro in the streets of New Haven, shortly after she voted in favor of $500 million in more weapons for Israel. And so I accosted her about that. And at one point, I'm shouting at her, I'm like, this is genocide. Why can't you call this a genocide? How do you sleep with yourself at night? And her immediate response was, very well, thank you. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, you see a person here getting very upset about a genocide and saying the word and talking about millions of people starving to death, and your response to that is that you sleep well at night. And then a week ago, we see her outraged at RFK Jr. over raw milk, and it's just like, where is this woman's priorities? So although going around the district and speaking with people, there are a lot of people who have said to me that they are big fans of Rosa, but that it's time for her to pass the torch. And it is very interesting seeing the spectrum of people that have either supported Rosa. So today I was talking to a delegate who used to be a big Rosa supporter until several months ago, when she was in a meeting with 20 clergy members from across the district, and they were asking her to, abolish ICE and to commit to abolishing ICE, and she refused to do that. And then she started accosting them and got, I guess, very heated when they were questioning her morality. And just like, well, they are clergy people, so if anyone knows anything about morality, it might be them. Oh yeah, so that is the Overton window. So in most countries in the world, yes, AOC and Bernie Sanders are center, maybe left of center. But in this country, they're considered the far left, and it's just like, no, they are very moderate in their positions as far as worker rights goes. In Europe, like, again, they would just be, center, left of center. But that is what the Democrats have done with their inability to actually challenge, the ratchet effect. So, the Republicans come in, they pass all of this god-awful legislation and all of these terrible policies. Somehow the parliamentarian never stops them. Somehow they never have a rotating villain to stop them. Then the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, they come along and they're like, oh, Russia's $5 so that we can save Roe v. Wade, or Russia's $5 so that we can take on Trump. Then they get into office, they don't do anything, and then it just continuously shifts that Overton window to the right, where suddenly I remember talking to someone the other day, and they're like, things have gotten so bad that Mitt Romney looks reasonable, when 12 years ago he was psycho. And that is just how far that window has been pushed. And so when I'm talking to people, though, and they talk about the far left and the far right, or the extreme left and the extreme right, I always do ask them, like, what about the left makes them extreme? And a lot of times it boils down to the fact that the left, and they're not the left, focus all on identity politics. And I'm like, that's not leftism. That is neoliberalism. Because, and I've said this before, as a gay man, I have felt very patronized by the Democrats, because every 2 years they're like, oh, you're gay? Well, you have to vote for us, because if you don't, then you're going to lose your rights. And I'm like, that might be true, but being gay is not all of me. It's part of me, but it's not all of me. And what good are my rights if I cannot afford rent, if I cannot afford groceries, if I can't afford a family? But no, they're just like, it's like when Biden was like, back in 2020, was like, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? Oh, so I didn't realize until, I ran for office how much the DTCs control access to the ballots, and it is, like, to me, it is just blatant hypocrisy when the Democrats talk about something like the SAVE Act and how Republicans are trying to rig the elections and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, you all are doing it too. You rig the primaries. We haven't had an actual presidential primary since 2008. Because, Obama ran in 2012, there was no challenge. Then in 2016, they rigged it for Hillary. Then in 2020, they rigged it for Biden. And then in 2024, they rigged it for Harris. And, even in like California, there's a gentleman named Butch Ware who's running as a Green Party candidate. And then I think something happened in North Carolina where both of, they sued the states to get the Green Party kicked off of the ballot. Just like, you also do not believe in democracy. You also do not believe in choice. It should be about presenting your ideas to the public in a way that convinces them to vote for you and not forcing people to vote for you because there's just a lack of options. I'm showing Bush dodging that man's shoe, and people were commenting that they never thought they would see the day that they would miss. Yes, that is how bad the Overton window has gotten, is that people miss George W. fucking Bush. So, my foreign policy is, let's get the fuck out of everyone's business. I am very anti-imperialism, and we should not be spending $1 trillion on an imperial war budget that is just used to destabilize predominantly brown nations so that we can, just take all of their resources for the cheap. I just sent an old video audio when she was a lawyer who defended a rapist of child in coma and showed her So I have come to learn that I used to think that I was a liberal, and I realized, no, I'm not a liberal. I'm a leftist. Because at the end of the day, liberals will still side with fascism, because fascism is not a threat to capital. Socialist policies are a threat to capital, and that's why people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, who, people thought were more leftist. No, they never were. They were always, the capitalist oligarchs that they always were. It's just, it became inconvenient for them to fight for social issues, and so they completely sold out what minor amount of what's it called? I don't know. I was my train of thought. Hey, Alan, welcome. I don't think you've ever joined before. So every week on Sunday from 8:30 to 9:30. I have what I call a Fireside Chat to give voters or constituents or anyone an opportunity to ask me questions, unscripted, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to ask. I'm here to answer. And so if you do have any questions or anything, let me know. And a lot of times, I just kind of read questions off the screen, just kind of ramble on a little bit, and try to have a bit of a discussion in the comment sections. And right now we are talking about a lot of aggravation that people are having with the establishment Democratic Party, especially with the primary process. So I am endorsed by Citizens Impeachment. Fun fact, I actually helped Josh Elliott get that endorsement. I didn't do that much besides just, connect him with the organization. But I am endorsed by Citizens Impeachment. I am endorsed by Track AIPAC. I refuse to take AIPAC donations. I refuse corporate donations. And so I'm a big Star Wars fan. And in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Anakin Skywalker, I have often observed that senators appease those that fund their campaigns and are more than willing to abandon the niceties of democracy in order to secure those funds. And to me, that really resonates. And I think that is one of the biggest issues with the current establishment Democratic Party, is that too many of them are taking corporate donations. Josh is running for governor. He's challenging Ned Lamont for the governorship. And so for me, I do not accept corporate funding. I do not accept AIPAC funding. I'm a grassroots candidate. I want grassroots donations because at the end of the day, I want people to feel confident that I am here representing them and not representing corporate interests. And the starkest example of this is when Rosa DeLauro says that she refuses to abolish ICE. she accepts money from AT&T, from L3 Harris, and from General Dynamics, among many other corporations. But those three corporations I have mentioned specifically because those three corporations have contracts with ICE, meaning they profit off of ICE's existence and therefore have a profit-driven motive to ensure that ICE remains a solvent agency so that they continue to profit off of its existence. So if you're receiving corporate donations from organizations that profit off of ICE, and then you say, I do not want to abolish ICE, is that what you truly believe is in the best interests of the constituents and your voters, or is that what your corporate sponsors demand of you to say in exchange for those corporate donations? And that is, a big reason why we need to get money out of politics. We need to overturn Citizens United. We need to limit the amount that corporations can contribute to our politicians, because at the end of the day, people need to and deserve to have the confidence that decisions being made by our leaders are being made in the best interest of the people we represent and not the corporations that give money. I have also accosted Blumenthal. The most recent was at the Iris Run with Refugees, and it's I'm not a big fan of Blumenthal. He has, so there's a gentleman by the name of Ta-Nehisi Coates who said, if you cannot stand against genocide, how can I trust you to stand up for democracy? And so at the end of the day, for me, this is very black and white. It's genocide, and we cannot support that. We cannot fund it. As moral people, as humanitarians, as Democrats, we need to be standing against genocide. And the fact that Blumenthal voted against the Block the Bombs bill, Bernie Sanders Block the Bombs bill, and it is encouraging to see that I think like 40 Democratic senators supported that bill, which is a huge change in public opinion, a huge change in policy in the Democratic Party, because I never would have imagined 2 years ago that I would see 40 Democratic senators vote for, the right thing in this matter. In regards to Palestine, we obviously still have some pressuring to do, but it shouldn't, at some point, why did it take such a pressure campaign for Democrats just to do the right thing and stand against a genocide? Why is it taking the threat of these primary challenges and the toxicity of AIPAC for these establishment figures to suddenly see the light of day? Better late than never, but I would like to have public servants who don't need to feel this pressure to do the right thing. So Rosa DeLauro, she takes money from AIPAC, and I think that compromises. I mean, is that why she couldn't say on the, are you in favor of a stronger Green New Deal? So I am for the Green New Deal from what I understand about it, but I would like to know the nuances of some of that language, because I've heard people say the Green New Deal would get rid of, beef, and, people won't be able to eat beef or pig or whatnot. And so I need to understand all of the measures in the Green New Deal to fully understand the impact it would have. But we do need heavier investment in green technologies. We need solar panels. We need wind farms, hydroelectric. nuclear fusion, not nuclear fission. I do not consider nuclear fission a green renewable technology, but we are on the cusp of nuclear fusion, and we should be investing a lot of money into that, because if we could harness the power of the sun in a clean way, that would be a game changer for a lot of things. I think the other aspect of a lot of this, and I don't shy away from this, I am anti-capitalist. I think the capitalist system has outgrown its utility, and part of a lot of these issues is just the overconsumption. And a lot of times, so food waste is one of the biggest issues. Well, a lot of things are the biggest issues for me, but food waste is something that personally just makes me uncomfortable. I do not like throwing away food. And so I have seen before that places like Walmart and Stop and Shop and whatnot, they will have all of this beef and they will just throw it away because it, if it expires on Christmas Day or something, they will just throw it all away because it's cheaper to do that than it is to sell it for less or something. I'm like, this is crazy. And so I want to be cognizant and assure that we are not taking freedoms away from people when there are other things that we could be doing to ensure that we're not just blindly consuming and blindly slaughtering cattle so that anyone can go at any time of the day and have 16 options of, beef, whatever. But there has to be ways of ensuring that people have those choices, but not having it in such a way that contributes to just so much food loss. And so, sorry, that was a long-winded way of saying that on the surface, I'm a proponent of the Green New Deal. I just want to make sure that I understand some of the nuances in those proposals, because that is something that I think happens a lot, especially with some of these. I have motion sensors for my lights, millennial. That is one of my concerns with a lot of these larger bills, is that there is oftentimes unintended consequences, especially when you pack so much things into larger pieces of legislation. And so ideally, I would like to see the Congress operate and vote on, much more narrow-focused policy, and that way we don't have these poison pills or these riders that get into the bill that have those unintended consequences. And so the other thing that I'm not 100% sure of with the Green New Deal is how much it focuses on restoration, because I think restoration has to be a large part of our environmental policy. It cannot just be about sustainability, because to me, sustainability is sustaining the current, the status quo, which is, better than making things worse. But we need to ensure policy that is restoring restoring coral reefs, restoring marshlands, restoring soil. And so one concern that I do have with the Green New Deal is if this is legislation that is still operating within the confines of a capitalist structure, will it undermine the point of that kind of legislation, because it is focusing still on profit-driven motives for societal benefits? And as a democratic socialist, I like to see policy that is focused in a more socialist construct where we remove the profit-driven motive. And again, this is why I need to understand more about the Green New Deal and its nuances, because again, I don't like the idea of just saying oh yeah, I'm for it because that's what sounds good. For me, a large focus of the campaign is on these affordability issues. But then at the end of the day, if we don't have an environment, then it doesn't matter what we can or cannot afford, because we need to have a planet that can actually sustain human life. But one of the biggest things that we could do for the environment is ending imperialism. The genocide in Gaza, I believe, contributed more CO2 emissions than all 200 odd sovereign nations. The United States military is the largest singular contributor, singular entity to contribute to the total amount of greenhouse gases. And so for me, anyone who is serious about tackling this climate crisis, we need to tackle our military, because the military, even not at war, just having these military planes doing their drills and whatnot, that is just constant consumption of fuel and oil. And I was talking to someone earlier that it's like a snowball effect of we have military, and then we need more military because people attack us, and then we attack that. It's just if we just stayed out of other countries' business, we would have a much safer America, because if I was in the Middle East and America dropped a bomb on my house and killed my family, I would probably feel a certain way about that and probably want to seek revenge. And so I've noticed in campaigning and talking about individual issues, there's no such thing as an individual issue, because they are all so interconnected to one another. And a lot of it, to me, does boil down to the fact that we are a nation that has just made the profit-driven motive the end-all and be-all of our existence. And to me, I don't want to see people wake up and think, what will make me profit today, or what will make my boss profit today. I want people waking up thinking, what can I do to better humanity? What can I do to make the quality of life better for myself, for my neighbor, for my community, and just having a true, getting over the whole idea of individualism. And so I feel like in this country, we conflate individualism with individuality. So I have a dog. I love Star Wars. I'm gay. I love Star Trek. Those are things that make me an individual. Individualism is that whole, gotta pull myself up by my bootstraps. I earned my own right. I did everything by myself. And it's just no, everything is... It's when I drive to work, I might have bought my car, but I didn't ore the rubber that makes the tire. I didn't ore the mineral that makes the frame. I didn't build the computer chip. I'm relying on several hundreds, if not thousands of people's labor and time to be able to do the things in my own life. In Lost Generation, we drop bombs and kill a family, but the young child survives. When the kid grows up, they will seek revenge and attack. Yes, it is a vicious cycle, and unfortunately, we kind of do need to apologize to the world for being a bunch of bastards. Do you have any concerns about NATO? Because I've heard people upset over the expansion of militaries and how it's connected to NATO or whatever. So NATO first began as a answer to the USSR's rising influence. But did you know that when NATO was first brought about, that Russia wanted to join NATO, and when NATO told them to go fuck themselves, that's when they had the Warsaw Pact. And I don't understand, when the USSR fell, why did NATO continue to expand? What was the purpose? If NATO's purpose was to repel Soviet influence and then the Soviet Union dissolved, why did we continue to expand NATO? And so the United States, since World War II, has always had these proxy wars with Russia. We had the proxy war with Russia through Afghanistan. We had a proxy war with Russia, I think, through Syria. And now we're fighting a proxy war with Russia through the Ukraine. And so I do not like the fact that NATO keeps expanding, because at the end of the day, we should be pursuing avenues of long-lasting peace. And to me, NATO is not a peacekeeping force, unlike something like the UN. And so the other thing that, concerns me with NATO, and, I don't agree that Putin invaded the Ukraine. They are a sovereign territory, and that is unacceptable. However, NATO had no business trying to expand into the Ukraine. And the way I imagine it is, how would I feel if the Russian Federation annexed Mexico and then Putin was able to put military bases on the United States-Mexico border? That would freak me the fuck out. I would not like that. And so I understand that the Russian Federation would not want to have the United States military have access to their borders. But then when you look at the whole military of America, why do we have 800 military bases spread across the world? There's no other country that has that many bases not in their own sovereign territory. And if we are genuinely looking for peace, then we need to have more integration. It's like the EU is a perfect example of what happens when you connect people's economies. Is you create this block that now has mutual, they work off of each other in a mutual capacity that deters any sort of conflict, because now you have economies working together, versus what we have now with this antagonism with China and Russia. And I'm just sick and tired of, again, spending trillions of dollars into this war machine that just continuously causes death and destruction. And at the end of the day, it just does seem that the United States is trying to break up the Russian Federation, and it's most likely because the Russian Federation has a lot of natural resources. And when you look at the post-World War II history of the United States, and especially after the formation of the CIA, we always send in the CIA, and we always send in our military to overthrow governments that have decided that they want to nationalize their resources. And one of the best examples is Iran. In the 1950s, they had a very progressive leftist government, and he wanted to nationalize the oil reserves in Iran. That pissed off British Petroleum. British Petroleum went to the British government. The British government confided with the United States government, and MI5 and CIA worked together to overthrow that government in the 1950s, installed the Shah, who was a brutal dictator. But the Shah would at least, appease American interests and not allow for the oil reserves to be nationalized. And then 20 odd years later was the Islamic Revolution that overthrew the Shah and installed the Ayatollah. And so now this whole, fiasco that we're dealing with, the Ayatollah and whatnot, is just a creation of our own shitty foreign policy. So my foreign policy is, let's not have our military bases. Let's shut down these 800 military bases across the world. Have the sovereign nations that those bases are in. If they want to have those bases, fine, use them. But use your own military and military men and have them arm those bases. Bring our troops home. have them here, reduce the imperial war budget, because again, we're a nation that is, we have the Pacific to our west, the Atlantic to our east, and allies to our north and south. It does not cost $1 trillion to protect and defend the homeland. We could achieve that with a lot less money, and then all of these corporations and all these jobs and all these people that are making war machines will take those skills, retrain them, and instead of having them build tanks and helicopters and submarines and weapons of destruction, have them build high-speed rail and tram lines and a integrated, scaled public transit system that boosts the economy, because one of the biggest booms to an economy is the movement of people and services. And so having mass integrated transit would be a huge economic boom that, again, builds our country up and builds our society up and builds something forward thinking and not just continuously destroying and dropping bombs. I give peace a chance, as John Lennon says. Yes, we need to care for our communities here at home and not bomb the shit out of other countries, which then, people talk about, immigration and migrant crises and, the influx of migrants. That is also derivative of our foreign policy. Because when we destroy Venezuela and Ecuador and Guatemala and Nicaragua and all of these countries, and we install all of these brutal right-wing dictators, and they go after their people, and they deprive their citizens of resources, and, America takes some of those resources back to the imperial core. It destabilizes those countries, it destabilizes those communities, they have to flee, which puts a strain on the next country, and then it creates this, domino effect that then gets back to America or the imperial core. And so a lot of times, again, we are a victim of our own bad foreign policy. And so we just need a complete shakeup of the system. And that is why, one of the many reasons why I'm running is I want to see a new generation of Democrats fighting for the working class, fighting for the values that made the Democratic Party the party it's supposed to be, those FDR, New Deal values, the Economic Bill of Rights, and ensuring that we are always fighting for the most marginalized, because that is what, to me, is a measure of a great country, how you treat your most marginalized people. It is 9:52. I am supposed to keep these to an hour. I'm supposed to be better at setting boundaries for myself, so the hardest part about campaigning is fundraising. The second hardest part about campaigning is setting a time boundary, because if I'm vibing or I'm enjoying someone's company, a lot of times I don't want to stop. I want to keep going, but I do have to recognize that, running a campaign, there will be times where I have to, have a hard cutoff. One of my advisors has actually said that I need to hire a person that can literally just be my timekeeper, and that way when it's, 9:30, they can be like, hey, Andrew, come on, you gotta go. So anyway, I don't like just cutting off immediately. I do like giving people one last opportunity to ask any question that they might have before wrapping up. So I am looking at my clock, and I will give 1 minute and 30 seconds for anyone to ask any last question. I'm not gonna go get sleep. That's not what this is about. There's I have to reach out, strategize for the week ahead. I have to consult with my policy advisor. Have to, talk to some team members, look at the news. But thank you. I appreciate you looking after my sleep health. That is always, I need to be better about that. But it is challenging running a campaign and fighting fascism. As you know, fascism doesn't always sleep, so we can't always either. But we can have fun because fun fights fascism. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you, everyone who has joined tonight and participated in this conversation and asked questions. I really appreciate you all showing up. And we do this weekly. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out in the meantime. And there'll be several events that I'm at over the next few weeks. Feel free to stop by. And we'll see you later. Have a great night, everyone.